Hello and welcome. My name's Leanne. I live in Australia and this is my crafty cupboard.
So I have two pieces of properly treasured lace, but they're in my wedding album and that's where they're going to stay. So I sewed my own wedding dress, made my own headpiece and earrings for the wedding, and that included hand stitching on all the beads and sequins on the lace on my dress. And so this is a piece of the lace that actually went around the seam between the bodice and the skirt. It's interesting, I hadn't looked at this for a while, and the sequins have actually turned yellow in age, but they used to be sort of that hologram see-through sparkly. And then the other piece is the lace edging on this hanky that I carried on the day this was made by my grandmother, who had passed away when I was 10. And I never met my pop, he'd passed before I was born. But yeah, that's the lacy edge on the crochet, and that too is in my wedding album, along with the speech my father delivered. That's my mum's handwriting. It's interesting actually. I think I've remarked before on other people's videos when they've combined paper and material together in journals that I'd never thought of that before, and what a great idea. And here in my wedding album I've done that exact thing because I had these pieces of textiles that were so important to the day, and they are in there with the paper items and the photos. Yeah, so they're my treasured lace pieces, but they're going to stay where they are in this album.
So in my previous video I asked the question, what do you think I should do to finish off my monogram? Because to me it felt like maybe it could do with some lace beside it, but I was undecided and I asked my viewers. So here were the options.
1. No lace. 2. Little lace. Or 3. Big lace. Leave a comment below.
So let's see what people had to say. Thank you so much to those of you who voted and helped me out make a decision. So Martha voted for 2. Thanks, Martha. Very kind comments always. So appreciative of all the wonderful people who view and leave comments. They're so lovely. Larger lace. Thanks, Trish. Thanks, Karen's very kind. Thank you, Lorna. Thanks, Christine. Mary voted for little lace. Thanks, Barbara. Thanks, Linda. Calico Rose, small lace. Thank you for the vote. Thanks, Lynn. Thanks, Tracy Lee. Marianne, thank you for your comment. Thank you, Night Owl Crafts. A vote for little lace from Kimberly. Thanks, Corinne. Tess voted for small one. And Paula, little lace. Thank you so much for all your kind comments and for the votes. And so it's clear in the comment section the little lace was the choice. Let's go and have a look at the poll I put up. Okay, so over at the poll, thank you to everybody who responded and made a choice. We can see the little lace is the winner again on the poll. So little lace it is. I'll stitch the little lace onto this piece. Okay, so let's get on with stitching on this little lace. Of course, when I raised the question of whether to leave this plain or add lace, I had no idea that our next prompt would be lace. It's interesting because to me lace is a material and I would sort of expected the prompts to be not about the products we'd be working with, but the items that we'd create, and it would be up to us what medium we use to do that. What I'm doing here is actually just back stitching using the holes that are existing as my guide, and I'm wanting it to butt up against the edge of my linen. Yeah, so I didn't have any hard thinking to do about the prompt this time, because I had already raised the question with all my lovely viewers, and you did the thinking for me and decided on the small lace, so thank you very much for that. It's funny though too, because I didn't really have to think about this one. I've put it off very late actually doing it, so it was 2 weeks ago now that I asked the question and got all those lovely answers. So I haven't done very much stitching in a while since I've done this one. Been a bit busy, a bit worn out when I'm not busy. So I was determined this morning to get up and get stitching. The weather is really warmed up, so it's quite cold in the morning still, but it's well over 20 in the middle of the day. It feels like spring, and I have not even pruned my roses yet, so I really need to get onto that, because one of them is actually flowering. Whoops. So I have to get out there and prune them up. We haven't had much rain, it's been very dry, and so all the grass has turned yellow again. Still, it's a good opportunity to see where all the weeds are in the grass, because they're... Why is it that weeds thrive when other things don't? They're highly evolved, aren't they? Very, very clever. Lost where I'm up to. That one. It's the trouble when you're doing stitching and it blends in so well with what you're stitching, is you can't see where you are. So needless to say, I'm very excited for the next prompt. It's interesting. I feel like the last project, the prompts were just so thought-provoking, and it took a lot of time to sort of work on the pieces, and so I was thinking about it all the time. I'm really enjoying that creative process. And this time around, I feel like I'm sort of champing at the bit, anxiously waiting for what's the next one going to be, because each one so far has been quite quick to create. I think the girls have done that on purpose to give people time or freedom to add in their own touches. But my brain feels like it can't add in my own touches until all the prompts are done, so then I can see, well, what's left, what space is left, what needs to be achieved. And that's probably why I designed this plan, so that I could just do one prompt per side of the box, and it's nicely contained. My brain is a big planner. It doesn't want to leave things unknown. It's not content with wait and see. That makes it feel very anxious. starting to go off course a little bit. So I just want to check what it's going to look like. Oh, I think it's okay. Is there any trouble when you chat as you sew? I lose concentration on what I'm doing. So my piece might end up with some more lace on it, but we'll see how we go with the other prompts. You know, it could be a case of doing a similar thing to what I'm doing now, adding a bit of lace edging here and there. It is nice to have these prompts to be able to use up things that we've been hoarding, isn't it? You know, I couldn't tell you where I got this little piece of cotton lace from, but it has been sitting in my lace box for a long time, waiting for something to do with it. Of course, I sort of did the lace prompt accidentally with the extra piece that I worked on when I made the needlebook and did the crochet lace edging around it. So I guess lace is going to feature quite a bit after all in my piece. Well, I'm going to keep stitching this on. I'm just back stitching it. I'll be back when I'm doing something different. Okay, so that's all stitched on. So it's ready to glue onto its piece. Now, talking about lace. In Japan there's a town called Nippori, and it's also called Textile Town, and it has one street that has textile merchants up and down each side of the street. Incredible place to go to. And so this piece of lace is something that I picked up. There was a tiny little store. I'm pretty sure this store was in Nippori, but you know, travel experiences, some places can blend into one, so I could have got it from somewhere different. Isn't it just beautiful? So it was a tiny little store, and I had all of these beautiful, beautiful pieces of lace, and I just had to bring some home with me. I had no idea what I would do with it. I think I sort of thought at the time I might use it to embellish the edges of cardigans or scarves, but again, it's just one of these pieces that's sort of sat in my cupboard all this time waiting for that special moment. And of course it's never come along. And this lace prompt made me think of it. So I have that one and this one. And I just find it incredible that these pieces of lace are in the exact colourways that I chose for this piece. You see all that hoarding and impulse buying that we do? It's actually just clever preparation and planning for the future. That's my excuse anyway. So what I was thinking was, part of my plan was on the inside, one of the inside sides of the box, to put a little pocket into which I could insert the bags of beads that I'm using for my current beading projects. And I was unsure if I was going to have like a little, you know, sort of hinged pocket that could flap open a little bit for the beads to come out. But when this prompt came up, I thought, how perfect. And initially I was going to use this one to be the pocket into which to tuck the beads. But I sort of feel like the design's just that bit too big and it might be lost and wasted. And so I think I'm going to go with this one. And I also like the fact that, you know, because it's to hold beads, this is actually beaded. Well, it's not beaded, strictly speaking, it's sequined. The braid looks a little bead-like. And I've chosen this piece as the backing because it's round like beads. So I'm going to stitch that down along the bottom, and there'll be a little pocket into which to slip the beads that I'm currently working with. There'll be no need for me to stitch down the sides because these are going to be folded under and glued, although I still might stitch the sides just so that this acts as one piece that's being glued down. So once again, just going to back stitch. The thing I like about participating in this project though too is that it does make us think about what we have and what we're using, and now I do feel re-motivated again to try and find somewhere to use these elsewhere, you know, like on the edge of a scarf or cardigan or something. Let's see how we go. Just, yeah, so grateful for the little prompts and the ideas that they spark. Okay, so I am going to cut this down so it's going to be easier to work with. Now, usually when working with lace, I'd try and cut the design and work with that rather than cutting right through it. Just thinking about how this will sit on the piece. I sort of want it to sit so the curves are a bit centered. Maybe there. Maybe if I just cut around here. I'm just trying to minimize how many cuts are through the braid because of course that's going to fray. There. What do you think? Very blingy, isn't it? Very sparkly. Just this way a little bit more. Yes, I think I'm happy with that placement. You know, the clever future preparation is true about these little pins as well. To be honest, I'm obsessed with anything miniature. And so when I saw these cute little pins, I had to have them. But then I never used them. They just sat there unused. Until I was working on the garden path project and got fed up with pinning anything because I'd fling the pins out and the pins would get caught and my thread would get caught around the pins. And then I saw in my sewing bag these applique pins and thought, maybe I should try them. Boy, did they make a difference. Nothing gets caught around them. Okay, so of course I'm keeping that open to slip the beads in. And again, I'm just going to backstitch it on. Didn't have a thread that matched perfectly, but this is sort of a pinky brown, so hopefully it will disappear. Okay, so there's the edge, so I might just start here. So where there's braid, you can keep your stitches close to the braid and then they disappear more. And as I'm working, I'm trying to keep the fabric flat and not pull so tight that it creases up. Okay, now I've got some thinking to do about the base of the project, because if this were purely decorative, I would just stitch all around the edges of the braid. But will that make the pocket too short? Let's check. Where's my little bag of beads? So if I'm stitched all the way there, I think that's okay. So I'll continue to stitch along the edges of the braid. Do one stitch here to get over. Okay, so I'm going to keep stitching this down and then I'll be back when I'm going to glue it down. Okay, just getting the glue to come out now. Feels a bit cheating using glue on a sewing project, doesn't it? But yeah, when I thought about putting this together, I thought I'm going to put it together how we used to do cottage crafts back in the 80s, you know, covering photo frames and that sort of thing. So this is just a quick dry see-through glue. I think we used to call it lampshade glue. We used to use it for, you know, bonding fabric onto the lampshades. So I'm just lining it up with the chalk line that I'd drawn on the piece. And I'll put some clips on to hold it down. Just cutting the corners to get rid of some bulk. So by gluing these two opposite edges, you can pull it nice and firmly. Make sure it gets a good bond. I guess strictly speaking, this isn't really lace, is it? I don't know, it's made me question what is lace. I mean, this is perhaps decorative trim. Alright, so I've done the monogram as well, same way. And now for the needlebook. I thought I'd try up something different by putting the corners in first, see, like this, rather than cutting them off. Might make it a bit bulky, but we'll see. Okay, so I'm just finishing taking the clips off, and that's that finished piece. So beads will be able to tuck in there and sit inside my workbox. And the inside of my workbox is all the mauves and the outside's all the blues. So there's the outside, the monogram piece ready. And so eventually this will be glued to that with sort of a triangle of fabric in between, sandwiched between, and that's what will hold the box, you know, together. And what holds the box ultimately together and upright will be the lid sandwiched over the top. So, but I'm not going to glue these together until all the pieces are done, I think, so that I can choose, you know, which ones I like together. So I've got 2 inside pieces so far, the bead pocket from today and the lace edged needle book that was the extra I filmed a little while ago, and one outside piece, the monogram. I'm excited to have the whole thing finished. I just want it finished so that I can play. Well, I can play with at the moment is all the individual pieces, but I'm really enjoying putting it all together. Thanks for watching, everyone. I'll see you next time. Bye bye.